And for more on this, we are now being joined by Hemendra Hazari, senior market expert, and he's joining us live from Mumbai. Welcome to the show. I will first start by asking you, sir, that can Modi 3.0 deliver on its high growth, especially with the coalition government in the third term?
First, let us understand by what we mean by high growth and what are the capital market expectations on high growth. Because if we see the GDP numbers so far, I believe the growth rates reported are reasonably very good. So therefore, why is it that Modi and the BJP has suffered so badly in its key stronghold of Uttar Pradesh? As well as if we have seen that what is the expectations of the stock market from growth? Because obviously, if the expectations are GDP growth, I think the Indian economy has done fairly well in these last 2-3 years. But I think what the concern in the economy, and that is why the BJP has lost in its critical heartland so many seats and vote share, is that there is a major issue of employment, wages, and therefore there is a huge concern on that. Now, to deliver on that, I believe the government has to increase its overall government expenditure. Now, what the stock market wants has been that the government should increase its capital expenditure. But if you see the last 2 to 3 budgets of the government, that's what the government has been doing. The capex of the union government has been, has been pushing the economy. But unfortunately, what has happened is, while the government has pushed government capex, it has reduced government consumption expenditure, and therefore the overall government expenditure has been coming down as a percentage of GDP. And that is why we have this problem today of low employment and low wages. Now, if the government has to increase both these expenditures, then the fiscal deficit will have to expand. Now, unfortunately, the stock market and the global capital markets do not like that, and therefore they penalize it. So the markets normally take a very short-term view that only if corporate profits go up, and that's what happened, about 2 years back when the government reduced the corporate tax, which led to huge surpluses. They want such things, but that thing, when such things happen, it is short-lived, because today, and the problem has been there for a couple of years, is that aggregate demand is the issue. Now, the only way to stimulate aggregate demand when the private corporate sector, despite getting such a huge income tax cut, is not investing. Shockingly, the capital goods index currently today of the IIP is what it was at such levels at what it was a decade ago. So which tells you even the companies whom you've given so much relief to are not investing, and they are not investing precisely because the government is not giving an adequate stimulus to the economy.
Right, Mr. Hazari, you speak of the high growth and the problems surrounding it right now. During the counting day on June 4, the Indian stocks touched record highs after counting day slump, and this coincides with Prime Minister's swearing-in ceremony. Do you think that we can perhaps maintain this growth momentum in a coalition era as well?
Yeah, obviously you can. But again, as I said, what do you mean by growth? If you mean just by the GDP growth rates, which some economists always have had some great deal of skepticism on, and it is not met by a corresponding increase in employment and wages for the rest of the economy, you will have, only little spurts of growth in those respective sectors where the government is directing its capital expenditure. So if the government's policies, and I think the fiscal policy is a very important one, because monetary policies can only take you with a very limited direction in this regard, is that if the government comes up with a program which leads to a significant increase in the overall government expenditure and therefore the fiscal deficit, and it sits down with global credit rating agencies and convinces them that with such a strategy, you will have a more sustainable growth, which will definitely benefit the lower sections, which have clearly been unhappy with the ruling BJP, then you will get a more sustainable growth. So even if you expand and you are able to convince them that this is going to lead to sustainable growth, the masses will be happy, and so will the capital market. But so far, in 10 years of governance, the BJP government and Narendra Modi has been unable to do this.
Prime Minister Hazari, thank you so much for taking out time and joining us on World Business Watch with your insights.